6 to 7 Figure Show, Episode 11. Ready? Let's hit it.
Broadcasting from the Valley of the Sun outside Phoenix, Arizona, this is the 6 to 7 Figure Show. Tired of working so hard and having no time? Take your six-figure practice and turn it to a thriving seven-figure enterprise. And now, your host, author, speaker, mentor, and strategist, Frank Bria.
This is the 6 to 7 Figure Show, and I'm your host, Frank Bria. Welcome. And today's episode is going to focus on scaling your business by becoming an author. We're going to talk specifically about books, how to leverage them in your business, and how to monetize it on the back end in a way that scales your business. But first, I want to remind you that although I'm going to teach you what you need to know today, if you want to talk about this, if you want to get engaged in a conversation with you and with other entrepreneurs, the place to be is the Scale to Success Facebook group. That you can get an invitation to by going to frankbria.com, right smack in the middle. Step 2, get yourself a personalized invitation to the Scale to Success Facebook group. It is free, and it's where all the stuff is happening this week. So this week, we're focused all about learning how to scale your business by becoming an author. That is what we're talking about. All the questions that you have, we're going to try to answer. But if you want to talk about your own specific business, that's the place to be. That's what we're going to be doing this week. So let us get started by talking about 3 things today. I want to talk about, first of all, your strategy for picking a book. Then we're going to talk about you being able to monetize that, what that looks like on the back end. And then we're going to talk about how you launch that book so that you build a list, scale your business. I mean, this is all about scaling your business. It's not about becoming an author per se. That's not the end goal. So we're going to talk about that today. All right, let's get started. So one of the first questions I get asked all the time when we talk about books is, what should I write about? Okay, that is a complex question. It has a lot of pieces and parts to it. But I'm going to tell you a couple of things. I'm going to share with you a couple of things that I find important in understanding how you leverage books. Now, you may have already written a book, or you may be thinking of writing a book. Maybe you've got an outline already picked out. But I want you to keep the following things in mind when you pick your book. And, you know, if they don't match, that's okay, because you could always write another one that matches better the business that you have, okay? So remember, the point is to become an author to scale your business. Your business has got to be your center focus of everything that we're talking about today. All right, so the first thing I want you to ask yourself is, number 1, to think of a topic which is personally meaningful to you that you can share a story about, okay? A lot of people say to themselves, and actually I've read a lot of books on this where people say, oh, here's a great way to become an author on Amazon. Find some really popular topic and write a book on it. I hate that idea. I really, really hate that idea. I think it is best to pick a topic which is personally meaningful to you. Something that, I mean, maybe you're not the world's foremost expert on. You can always become an expert on, but something that you've got to connect to emotionally, okay? Let me give you an example. So, one of my favorite authors and personal friend of mine is Chandler Bolt. Okay, Chandler Bolt runs a self-publishing school. If you want to take a course on becoming a self-published author, I think Chandler Bolt is the foremost authority on self-publishing, period. That's just my personal opinion, but I know the guy personally, and I know his results and his students' results, so that's what I'm just going to say. But let me tell you about Chandler. So Chandler's very first book that he wrote was The Productive Person. He co-wrote it with an author. Now, before Chandler started, he was not some productivity expert. It's not like he, sat down and with a PhD in productivity and then wrote a book about it. But what he did to kick that book out in the amount of time that it took to do it was all about productivity. You see what I mean? So you don't have to be an expert to write something, but you do have to have it connected to your life in some way. And so the story that Chandler tells about him being productive in getting that book out the door is related to the content that he wrote about. Okay, and the reason that's important is more than just that it's important to you and that you feel motivated by it. I mean, that is very important. But the reader has to know you care about the topic. Okay? And so if you just happen to write a book about butterflies because you think it's a hot topic on Amazon, and so you're going to go out and interview a bunch of people about butterflies, but you don't really give a crap about butterflies at all, it's going to come through in the book. People will tell. And especially since you're using that book to scale your business, you're going to be stuck with that topic. So it better be something you're passionate about. It better be something your readers can tell you're passionate about. All right? So that's the first thing I want you to think about when you think about picking a topic, okay? The second thing is that you're going to have to think about monetization of that topic. That means that you have to pick a topic that you're going to be able to do something with down the road. So, for example, a lot of people, try to, break out as an author and write like an autobiography or write, something else that is maybe a personal story or personal history. And that's all well and good, and it might actually be the most exciting story in the world. But you've got to monetize it on the back end because you are not, you're not going to become rich selling books. That just doesn't happen very often. I just want to lay that myth to rest. You might make some money, but you're not going to retire on it. All right, I know personally some New York Times bestselling authors, okay? They do not retire on their book sales. Right? They just don't, okay? You can make some good money at it for sure, but you're not going to become rich as an author without a back-end monetization strategy. So, if you're going to do something like a personal story or personal history, and you're not going to be a motivational speaker, like where you tell your story over and over again, okay? Then you're going to have a hard time, I think, monetizing that book. Let me give you the counterexample to help kind of just show you what that looks like. If you climbed Mount Everest and you survived a harrowing experience where people on your company died on the way down the mountain, okay, then you can write a book about the experience and go out and be a motivational speaker talking about this experience, okay? But unless that's your business, you're going to have a hard time monetizing that personal story. So make sure there's congruence between the story you want to tell and the thing you want to sell. Okay, that's tweetable, by the way. Make sure there's congruence between the story you want to tell and the thing you want to sell. All right, so that's the thing we want to dial in. All right, now the third thing, and this is sort of related, but it's a question that helps you internalize your commitment to the topic. Okay, I ask people the question: all right, if you're so interested in that topic, or you think you're interested in that topic, come up with 3 speeches around the book topic, and think about you delivering those speeches. Are you happy with it? Are you comfortable with it? Are you excited about it? Are you passionate about it? Think about giving speeches associated with the book. That is a way for you to tell whether or not this is something that you really want to do. Because oftentimes a follow-up monetization strategy to a book is speaking. Doesn't have to be, right? Doesn't have to be, but as a thought exercise, it's a really good one. Is this something you can come up with 3 speaking engagements around, 3 topics, 3 speeches, 3 topics, okay? And that should be the basis of you thinking about what kind of a topic you want to build a book around. Now, if you've already written a book and you're thinking about these things and you're like, ugh, then don't worry about it because you can always write another one. I'll give you an example, a personal example, okay? My very first book is called 7 Billion Banks: How a Personalized Banking Experience Will Save the Industry. All right. I wrote that book because I thought I was supposed to. Now, that's a horrible thing to say with all of the effort required to write a book and publish it. But I thought this was the book I was supposed to write. And you know what? There are speeches that I have given. Actually, I've spoken on that book in the past, where I used to do banking analytic consulting as my in my prior life, if you will. And but it's not something I was passionate about. And frankly, I couldn't answer the monetization question. How do you monetize that? How do I create something I can teach or sell off of that? I can't. I couldn't. Not easily, anyway. And so, therefore, certainly not something I wanted to do. And therefore, it was tough. Now, occasionally, people still buy that book. And I've actually even done some speeches on that book since then. But it's not my main business. It's not my core strategy. But you know what I did? I sat down and I wrote Scale. Okay? So you can come back from this if you've already written a book. You don't have to stick with it. You don't have to be married to it just because you wrote one. Write another one. I know that sounds flippant, but it really isn't that hard. It requires commitment. It requires you spending the time on it, but you can do it. Okay? You absolutely can do it. So keep that in mind. These are the three things I want you to think about when you're thinking about what your book topic should be. Okay? And these are the things which you should use as a sort of measuring stick for whether or not you've got a topic that is going to be a good book for you to scale your business around. Before we get into talking specifically about how to monetize the book, I want to pay a little bit of attention to the question that's probably in your mind right now, which is, how the heck am I supposed to finish this book with all the stuff that's going on? Okay, so let's spend a little bit of time on that. There are previous webinars and courses that I've given on how to write a book in 90 days, things like that. The show notes page has some links to it if you want to watch it. That's kind of my view. I am not a professional book coach. So, I'll give you my experience with it, and then I'll tell you kind of where I think you should go. There are two things that you should do. First of all, and they both fall into the same category of get help. Okay? Do not try to do this on your own. Get help. That doesn't necessarily mean you have to go hire some $50,000 consultant to help you write a book or get a publishing contract or something. You don't, but you need to get some help. Because the likelihood of you sitting down and doing this by yourself, if you have not done it yet, is pretty small. Okay? But there are plenty of ways for you to engage help, and they fall into two camps. Okay? There's the coach and there's the course. If you feel like you need some hand-holding, then you need a book coach. And there are some great book coaches. And let me tell you about two. The links to these two book coaches are on my show notes page. I am personal friends and with both of them, and so I know them personally and know the work they do and the great results they get for their clients. So the first one, Ann Shabani. Ann Shabani, personal friend of mine. She is a book coach that helps you dig out the topic. So if you're struggling with, I don't know what to write about, I don't know how to put it on paper, I don't know how to tell my story, she is good at that. Okay, she is great at helping you give voice to that story, which is going to be a part of your ongoing business. Okay, she has a course that she teaches, and she's also a coach, so you can go either way. Another book coach that I happen to recommend is Clementina Esposito. She focuses on the style of your writing, especially for folks who are otherwise speakers like me, where they do the better work speaking, and writing's a little tough for them. And she works especially well with technical folks or folks who have intellectual property and really need to get that out in a way that is intelligible and understandable and it connects emotionally with your audience. Okay, so you got links to both of those. And now the third, the course view. If you want to self-publish and you want to take a course that helps you figure out how to nail this, then my recommendation would be Chandler Bolt's Self-Publishing School. And again, a personal friend of mine, and he knows his stuff. He knows what he's doing, and has great staff that can really help push that through. I've got links to all those on a show notes page. Okay, now that's about all I'm going to say on that. I'm not really going to teach how to write a book and editors and all that stuff. There's other people who can do that. They're much better at it. Also, you can watch my webinar on the topic, and that's great. But for now, that's kind of what we have. All right. Now, let's talk about what your strategy should be for monetizing that book. One of the best lessons that I learned from Chandler Bolt, actually, on list building through your book is to give away the audiobook for free. Now, I don't currently do this, but I think it's a brilliant idea. And they basically, Chandler, what his strategy is that he'll, in the very beginning of the book, list that, hey, as a thank you for buying the book, you can get the audiobook for free. And gives a link for giving the free audiobook away. And of course, you're going to give your email address. Now, what happens is that this is in the first 10% of the book that is viewable on Amazon. So if you click the book and you open the first couple of pages, you're going to see this link. Now, some people will say, hey, Chandler, aren't you cannibalizing sales? People aren't going to buy the book and they're going to go get the audiobook. Well, maybe, but now you've got their email address. Which is more important to you? Like, which one is more valuable to you? Is it the $9 book purchase or whatever, $12 book purchase, or is it the email address that now is a member of your audience that you can market to on an ongoing basis? I think the answer is kind of obvious. If an email address isn't worth $10 to you, then something's wrong with your business model. We should talk. You definitely you should be able to make more than $10 lifetime value off an email address. The other thing that Chandler does, which I think is a great idea, is during the book itself, look, there's some visual stuff. And we say, look, you're not going to get it in the audiobook, so you can buy the book to get the visuals, and that's a great way to get people who are now listening to the free audiobook back over to the book and purchase it. So, this isn't an and or, it's not like we do this or do that, and they're mutually exclusive. You can have both, right? But beyond that, there need to be opportunities within the book for people to come to your website to register the book, if you will, and get additional bonus content. That could be training, that could be videos, it could be checklists, PDFs, whatever. But I will give you this one piece of advice. I don't think that people want to read a book and then come online to read more books. Okay, so don't give away more ebooks. Definitely, it should be interactive. Maybe it's a participation guide, maybe some additional stuff associated with the book. But personally, people, when they cross over from book onto online, they want online content, which is typically video. And my recommendation would be for you to have video content associated with your book. Period, full stop, end of story. I just think it's the most highly converting kind of content that you can add in to your book. It gives the reader an opportunity to experience your voice and in your face, your persona, in a way they're not going to get from the book at all. And that's why someone would cross the digital chasm from one channel to another. You have to give them something that they otherwise wouldn't see in that channel. That's going to be very important. Okay, so setting up that infrastructure. Now, you may say, oh, I already have a book. I didn't do any of that stuff. But that's the nice thing about using or being self-published and using something like Amazon. You come up with a new edition. Just take just add this stuff into the book, re-release it, new edition with new links to the content. Okay, there's no reason why your book, once it's out there, is static. Sure, the copies that have already printed aren't going to have it, but the new ones will. Then you can go on and continue to promote it with this new information in. But you want to make sure that those videos lead you into a sequence where you are going to sell something. Okay. So those videos go to a webinar where you sell from a webinar or to a course, whatever it is. You need to figure out what your funnel looks like. But that's how you want to monetize the book. Okay. Now, another reason to do this is and we're gonna get into this in the next segment a little bit about using that for launch. Having a monetization plan post book allows you to use joint venture partners to launch your book. We're going to talk about how to do that in a second. But you want to make sure you have some kind of a marketing funnel that goes from book to small purchase to medium purchase to large purchase over time. Okay, so designing that funnel. And we've talked about sales funnels in other episodes, but that's a very important part of the book. A lot of people leave that out. They just start writing a book and they don't really think about what that funnel should look like. if you think about the funnel, then you're going to have the content of the book match that funnel in some way or mirror it so that they're ready to move into that funnel from reading your book, having the credibility that you have earned through the book. Finally, I want to talk about launching your book. Your launch needs to have 3 major components to it. Okay? Launch team, bonuses, and joint venture partners. Those 3 components need to be a part of your book launch. Let's talk about each one. Launch team. What is a launch team? A launch team is a group of people who are your fans or friends or family, doesn't matter, who are, between 25 and 50, who are going to help you launch a book. Their job is to post Amazon reviews when the book is launched. Their job is to go onto social media. If these are business owners, their job is to mail their lists, to go on social media and share your stuff, to continue to promote during the launch. Okay. Now, a launch team is not just a loosely regulated band. Okay. I have seen this done poorly, and I've seen it done really well. Most recently, with Michael Port's book launch for Steal the Show, I actually co-ran the show team, the launch team. We call the show team for Steal the Show. And so, we designed that so that it was incredibly hands-on. And the feedback we got was that the most successful parts were where there were 3 major things we did. Okay. Number 1, we turned it into a teaching episode. So we shared our strategy with other business owners who were looking to publish books. Now, this may not be as interesting to friends and family, but for other business owners, it could be very interesting for them to see the inner workings of your strategy. So be transparent and share. Okay. Number 2, make it idiot-proof, right? So we explained and explained and explained and explained. We had a Facebook group where I posted a video every week that explained what was going to happen that week and what people were responsible for doing. I gave them very explicit instructions. When I said, write a podcast review, here's what goes into a podcast review. When I said, post stuff on social media, I said, we're going to give you copy. Use that, okay? We very, very specific, and we hit them multiple times with the same information. The Facebook group, via video and via email. And I will say this is the one piece that people forget. They just create a Facebook group, or they have Facebook messengers or whatever. Email people as well. Get their email addresses and send the instructions via email. Okay, and then the third component is swipe copy. We wrote the stuff we wanted them to tweet and post on Facebook. Now, some people wrote their own stuff as well, and then they shared it back with the group, which was kind of nice. But we wrote swipe copy, so people could literally cut and paste and be done, because that's what we wanted. We just wanted them to be done with it. We didn't want them to have to spend a lot of time, and so that was a very important part of that group. Okay, you need to assemble a launch team of your own. And you're going to need to manage it, and know that it takes time to manage that kind of a group. If you don't manage them, they're just going to sort of slide off. Even if at the beginning they're your friends and family, even your mother who wants to promote your book for you, okay, needs instructions. And you'd be surprised. Sometimes they need very explicit instructions, like literally click here, click here, click here. Okay? So, launch team, very important. Second piece, bonuses. In order to sell books, you need bonuses. And so during the launch of your actual book, we want to actually create bonus packages that will encourage people to buy your book. Now, this is related a little bit to those videos and such, okay? But we're talking about temporary bonuses that will go away once the launch period is over. You can bring them back if you relaunch again, but during the actual launch period of your book, you're going to have special things that you offer. Now, you can do this a number of ways. You can have people just buy it on Amazon and then send you the receipt, and then they get their bonuses. Okay, that's one way to do it. You could filter it through you and fulfill directly. It's up to, those are questions you need to figure out. But fundamentally what you want to do is to offer additional value for people who are buying your book. Now, that could be additional training, it could be a free webinar, it could be a call that you get on with people. It could be all sorts of things, okay? I did a live event. I did a live 2-hour live cast event. It was a lot of fun, actually. Brought lots of different guests on, and we had a blast. So those are the kinds of things that you want to think about when you put bonuses together. But you want them to be something that's going to go away. These are going to be above and beyond the ones that are printed in the book. And then third and final is joint venture partners. Okay? Whether you do this yourself or you get someone to help you do it, you want to get other partners involved in your book launch. And the way to do that is because there is a monetization potential downstream, right? You have the opportunity to get your joint venture partners involved in your book launch so that they can participate in the monetization short term, not long term, not, readers eventually might turn into clients, but literally, nope, we're going to have this campaign and this is going to execute to this and we're selling this course and you get 50% of it when they sign up. Okay, so one really clever way to do that is to give your ebook away for free. So you essentially have the book launch, you put it on an Amazon, you give the ebook away for free. So that means you do not sign up for Amazon's program, okay, their ebook program. If you do that, you can't sign up for their program. You give the ebook away for free by collecting the email address. They go into a sequence. That sequence then sells something. Your joint venture partners get 50%. Okay? That's the way that works. You want to make sure you have something like that in place. Unless you have a very large audience of your own, which is great, but a lot of people, when they're scaling, they still don't. This is a way to leverage other people's audiences. And giving books away for free is a really nice, easy way to do that. And it's still an effective approach for launches. So, you can reach out to people that that have an audience to do a joint venture launch there, or you might hire a firm that does that for you. It's up to you, but you definitely want to have some kind of a joint venture launch piece in place, a program in place for your launch. All right, so those are the three things I want you to think about. I want you to think about putting a launch team together. I want you to think about making sure you have bonuses, time-sensitive bonuses that expire in order to encourage people to buy your book. And then finally, I want you to have joint venture launch partners involved. Okay? Those are the three things that are important for a book launch. All right. That's pretty much it for this segment. But again, think very carefully about the marketing and about the launch when you're putting the book together to begin with. Again, begin with the end in mind, not to rip off Stephen Covey, but this is a very important part of planning a successful book launch, is making sure the content, the book itself, is consistent with the launch and what you're trying to sell. There's no point in trying to sell a webinar training from a book on banking. Okay, it just doesn't work. And I know that's an extreme example, but there are times where we're not consistent with our content and with the offer that we're making. So I want you to be thinking about that as you put your outline together. And again, if you've already written a book, you go back and look at that, and you can see whether or not you're consistent. And if not, update the book or write a new one. Okay, there's no law that says you have to stick with one. You can let it go if it's not consistent with the business you want to scale. And this is oftentimes the case, by the way, when people are trying to scale. The business that they started with is not the business they're going to keep. They realize they have to do something different. I'm working with someone right now who is pivoting from working with working with CEOs and is going to have to now sell to people who want to work with CEOs. Okay, that's a pivot. And the content that he has written may have to pivot with it. So that's okay. That's one of the things we think about when we think through the monetization process. That's all the time we've got for today, but lots of talk about using authorship to scale your business. And hopefully it's been helpful for you. If you want to continue the conversation or you want to talk about your own business, let's hop on over to Facebook. Scale to Success group is free. You get your invitation by going to frankbrea.com, right smack in the middle of the page. Step 2 says join a Scale to Success Facebook group. That's where you want to go. Click there, get your free invite, and join us online for the conversation. That's what we're going to be talking about all week today. And then in a couple of days, we're going to have an interview with Wendy Williams. She is an entrepreneur who's working through her own story of getting a book out for her business. And so you can listen to my hot seat session with her to help her get clear on what she wants to do with the book. That's what we got going on this week. So hope you can join us online at the Facebook group. If you're not a member already, Scale to Success, Facebook. Or you can just look us up on Facebook under Scale to Success. And happy to have you there. All right, that's all the time we've got. I've been your host, Frank Bria. This has been the 6 to 7 Figure Show. And as always, until next time, make it happen.